Hi, guys, and welcome to the demo day for the 4th of March. This is actually the second time I'm recording the demo day since the first time went a little screwy. Anyway, yeah, so yesterday, as you guys know, we got the lever curve sale live, which I'm pretty proud of, and I think it's a pretty unique thing. Yeah, so this ETH raised actually started at 5 Ether. And since yesterday, we've basically gotten in just under 11 Ether. Yeah, so that's a very, very good start. We've basically only really been marketing it to the existing Fry community, to the existing Foundry members. Yeah, and a small handful of people that we know so far. Yeah, so we'll leave that private and open basically for the for probably about a week or two, just so that the people in the community actually have an opportunity to participate. All right, so what I want to show you guys today is actually when you plug in some amount of ether here, where that ether actually ends up going. Yeah, let's have a look at that. All right. So I want to dedicate this presentation to Mark Verchenko. Mark is one of the developers who helped us build the version of DETH, and he had a Ukrainian and Russian team doing a lot of the software development for us, some of the smart contract work, and a lot of the testing work. So Mark hasn't really been answering messages, which I guess I can understand. Mark, if you hear this, I really hope you're okay, man. All right, so basically the way that the lever sale works is a buyer who is interested in purchasing some lever will basically come to the sale and he'll put in some ether. Right, then what happens is the sale actually generates lever tokens and takes the ether that came in and that distributes that to a bunch of places. Right, so the first place that it goes back to the buyer. So about 40% of the total amount of lever generated goes to the buyer. 5% of the lever goes to Foundry governance, which has now been deployed on Arbitrum. We'll make a video about that soon. And that's basically some funds for Foundry to operate with. 5% of the ether that is raised actually goes into the Arbitrum Uniswap contract to buy back Fry and send it to the 0x01 contract, which essentially burns it there. So if you want to sell some of your Fry, you can actually go do that on Uniswap on Arbitrum now. There is a small price difference between Arbitrum Uniswap and mainnet Uniswap. Then some of the rest of the lever, basically 25% of the lever tokens go to the lever governance whenever somebody buys, and 5% goes to a referrer. So if somebody referred you or if you refer someone else, 5% of this lever tokens that are generated go to the referrer. If no referrer is specified, however, this 5% just goes to the lever governance as well. Right, then the remaining 25% of the lever and 95% of the ether, if we subtract the ether that goes to Uniswap, that goes into 3 different balancer pools. All 3 of these balancer pools have 5% fees, which means that they should generate quite a yield depending on how volatile their pairs are. All right, so the first thing that happens basically is some of the lever and some of the ether goes into a lever ether pool on balancer. Some of it goes to buy DAI, and then basically there is a DAI lever pool, and some of it buys DETH, also bridged to Arbitrum Uniswap, and sends that into a DETH lever pool. Right, so what this does is it serves a bunch of purposes, but the first thing is basically that there is a permanent pool of liquidity over here that people with lever tokens should be able to always liquidate their lever tokens into. Might not be a brilliant price, but it's going to be a fairly liquid market relative to the supply of lever, unless of course everybody sells. The second thing that it also does is because these pairs that it's paired with is ether, dollars, and derived ether, as the price of ether fluctuates up and down, there will be automated bot trading between these 3 pairs. Now that's already started happening on Arbitrum. We can actually see that. So the pools have made a small fee through those trades already. And the thing is basically that all things being equal, if the Ether price, let's say, moves from $2,600 to $3,000 and then back to $2,600, there should be several rebalances that happen over that period. Because the price went out of whack and came back into whack, it should basically mean that these pools grow over time. So even if the lever holders decide never to govern the Leverly DAO, and essentially never pay us for building the rest of the products, just the fact that this is productive liquidity should over time implicitly buy back the lever tokens as the value of the pools essentially go up. Yeah, so just to answer a few questions, one of the things is when will we see liquidity rewards, and the other thing is when will there be full governance, right? So we have to give this thing training wheels a little bit. Reason for that is just that there is an unknown supply of lever tokens at this point. The sale will issue up to 1 billion total tokens if there's that level of interest. It'd be great if we get there, but I think we'd probably have to settle for a lower amount than that being raised, since I think the billionth lever token will have raised something like 50,000 Ether. So so unless we get really, really popular, it might sort of top out before that point. So basically what we're saying with the liquidity rewards right now is we're going to wait until we've raised approximately 250,000 US dollars. And we're going to have to play that a little bit by ear. But once we've raised that amount, we know that we have a fair amount of lever tokens in the treasury that we still control at that point to actually send out to the guys who have graciously provided us with liquidity over the last few months. Then the next thing is basically, and again, this is subject to us playing it by ear a little bit, when we hit around $300,000 raised, at that point, we're going to determine how many lever tokens are in circulation. And then from there on, we will decide on things like the quorum numbers, etc. And the reason we just sort of want to wait for that, we'll wait for about 300,000 plus 1 week to pass before we make this decision. And the reason for that is we just basically want to see some sort of a stable minimum amount of lever tokens out there, so we know where to actually set variables like the quorum. That's kind of it for the demo day. If you guys have any comments, please hit us up in Telegram.